The Civic's engine had been making that sound for 3 weeks, a grinding whine that meant the timing belt was about to snap. Nalani Washington had $237 in her checking account and a mechanic's estimate for $1,400 sitting in her glove box next to the nursing school rejection letter she still hadn't opened. She took the Canyon Road because it shaved 30 minutes off her commute. Because she'd worked a 16-hour double and her feet were swollen and she couldn't afford to waste gas sitting in traffic on the 101. The Escalade appeared around the curve without warning. Nalani slammed the brakes. Her tires screamed. The Civic fishtailed on wet asphalt and stopped 6 feet from where the SUV had wrapped itself around the concrete barrier like foil. The passenger side was obliterated. The driver's side hung over the edge of the canyon, suspended over darkness. She sat there, hands shaking, windshield fogging with her breath. Call 911. Drive away. Not your problem. Then she heard the screaming. 2 voices. Infant. Terrified. Nalani was out of the car before she could talk herself out of it. The Escalade was expensive. Custom paint, blacked-out windows, the kind of vehicle that cost more than she'd earn in 5 years. It groaned as she approached, metal shifting, teetering closer to the drop. Hello. Her voice barely carried over the rain. Is anyone conscious? The crying intensified. She reached the vehicle and looked through the shattered rear window. 2 car seats. 2 babies, maybe 6 months old. One in blue, one in yellow. Both screaming, faces purple, seconds from going over the edge. In the driver's seat, a man slumped over the wheel. Massive build, expensive suit, blood-matting black hair. His hands still gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. Unconscious. Maybe dead. The Escalade shifted another inch. Rocks skittered over the cliff edge into darkness. Nalani had minutes. Call 911. Wait for help. This is not your job. But her phone had no signal. And she'd spent 4 years learning to respond to emergencies, even if the hospital had rejected her application because her GPA was 0.3 too low. The rear door was locked. She ran to her trunk, grabbed the tire iron, and smashed the already fractured window. Glass cascaded over the car seats. I'm sorry, she told the screaming babies. I know it's loud. We're leaving. She reached in, stretching until her shoulder burned. Found the first buckle. Click. Pulled the baby in blue free. Ran him to her Civic. Laid him in the passenger seat wrapped in her jacket, and sprinted back. The Escalade was at a 45-degree angle now. The second baby was purple from screaming. Couldn't catch his breath. Nalani crawled halfway into the vehicle to reach the buckle. Her weight made the whole structure groan. She could feel gravity pulling her toward the edge. Click. She yanked the baby free, just as the Escalade lurched downward. Her foot caught on something, the man's arm, and she threw herself backward. The baby clutched to her chest, landing hard on wet pavement. Pain exploded through her hip and shoulder. The Escalade went over. The sound was deafening, metal screaming, then the crash echoing up from below, then an explosion that lit the canyon orange. Nalani scrambled to her feet, hip protesting, and looked over the edge into flames. No. He was dead. And she'd hesitated. Been too slow. Failed when it mattered. Then she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy. Deliberate. She turned. The man stood there. Alive. Suit torn. Blood on his face, but walking. Standing. Looking at her with dark eyes that were calculating something she couldn't read. You were in the car. Armored frame. Ejection mechanism. His voice was rough, each word deliberate. Vehicles built to survive worse. He took a step toward her. Nalani backed away. Don't run, he said. Not a request. A statement of fact delivered in a tone that made her body freeze before her brain caught up. You saved my sons. That creates obligations. What are you? Min-jun Kang. He said it like she should recognize the name. And you just became either useful or dead. Haven't decided which. Headlights appeared. Multiple vehicles. Moving fast. Min-jun moved between her and the approaching cars, his posture shifting into something protective that looked more strategic than instinctive. My people. When they arrive, you saw an accident. You pulled out 2 babies. You don't know what happened to the driver. Say anything else and you complicate things for both of us. I don't understand. You will. He looked at her directly. What's your name? Nalani. Nalani Washington. Nalani. He said it once, like he was filing it away. You saved my sons. In my world, that creates a blood debt. Do you know what that means? No. It means I owe you. Protection, resources, silence if you need it. And it means you're now a liability I have to manage until I understand who tried to kill me tonight. The vehicles stopped. People emerged. Expensive clothes, coordinated movements, the kind of efficiency that came from training. A woman pushed through. Late 30s, sharp features, eyes that assessed the scene in 2 seconds. The boys. Safe. She pulled them out. Min-jun gestured to Nalani. The woman's gaze fixed on Nalani with the kind of intensity that made her feel like an insect under glass. Then the woman moved to Nalani's Civic, looked at the baby in blue, and her entire posture changed, relief so profound it looked painful. G1, Min-jun said. We're bringing her in. Absolutely not. Not negotiable. She's a witness. And if she walks, whoever sabotaged my vehicle will know about her within 12 hours. Then we handle her the usual way. No. Min-jun's voice dropped. Blood debt. I'm claiming it publicly. G1's jaw tightened. The board will never. The board doesn't get a vote. Get her to the estate. Now. They put Nalani in a Mercedes with windows, so dark she couldn't see out. 2 people flanked her. A man built like concrete and a woman whose hands stayed near her jacket pocket the entire drive. Min-jun drove separately with the babies. They left Nalani's Civic behind. For processing, G1 said. Which meant searching. Maybe destroying. The drive took 2 hours. North, then east, climbing into hills that became mountains. The roads got narrower, unmarked. By the time they stopped, Nalani had no idea where she was. The estate revealed itself gradually. Gate. Driveway. Then the house. 3 stories of modern architecture and old wealth, all glass and warm light and armed men at every entrance. Nalani got out on shaking legs. A woman descended the front steps. 50s, silver-threaded hair, expensive dress, the kind of posture that came from a lifetime of being obeyed. Miss Washington. I'm Sun Kang. Her voice was cultured. Cold. Min-jun's mother. Welcome to our home. It didn't sound like a welcome. I need to call someone. Who? Son, he asked. We've already reviewed your life, Miss Washington. No family. No close friends. Your landlord wants you evicted. Your employer expects you to quit. Who exactly would you call? The words were clinical. Factual. Devastating. That's private. Nothing about you is private anymore. You pulled my grandsons from a sabotaged vehicle. That makes you either an asset or a threat. We'll determine which. Sun-hee's smile was sharp. Until then, you're our guest. Guest implies I can leave. You can. Once we're certain you won't become a complication. Min-jun appeared, both babies in his arms. That's enough, Mother. She's here under my protection. Blood debt. Blood debt doesn't extend to civilians who stumble into our business. It does now. Min-jun's voice carried finality. She saved my sons. That's the code. I'm following it. Sun-hee's expression said she disagreed, but she didn't argue further. They showed Nalani to a suite that was bigger than her apartment. Marble bathroom. Walk-in closet with clothes already in her size. The windows didn't open. The door locked from the outside. This wasn't protection. It was captivity with nice furniture. A kid brought her breakfast the next morning. Couldn't be older than 20, nervous energy, eyes that didn't quite meet hers. I'm Taeyong. Kitchen staff. He set down the tray. Boss wants to see you at 10. What if I refuse? Then he comes here. But you'd prefer his office. More neutral ground. Taeyong hesitated. For what it's worth, you saved those babies. That counts for something. What is this place? What does Min-jun actually do? Taeyong's face went blank. I work in the kitchen. I don't ask questions. But you know, knowing things gets you hurt. Eat. I'll be back at 10. Min-jun's office was designed to impress. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, massive desk, windows overlooking mountains. But Min-jun sat on the floor in jeans and a t-shirt, both babies on a playmat between his legs. A bandage wrapped his left forearm. Bruising visible on his collarbone where his shirt didn't cover it. Evidence that the crash had cost him something. Miss Washington. He looked up. Sit. We need to talk. Nalani sat, watching Jae-hyun try to eat a toy. About who sabotaged my vehicle and why the board thinks you're involved. I'm not. I know. But they don't. And they're arriving in 3 hours to question you. He removed the toy from Jae-hyun's mouth, replaced it with something safer. You need to understand what you're walking into. Then explain. I run a criminal organization. Smuggling, extortion, loan enforcement, protection rackets. We operate across 6 states and answer to a board of 12, one representative from each major organization in the region. His tone was matter-of-fact. Someone in my organization tried to kill me last night. Professional sabotage, designed to fail at high speed, which means it's internal. Then investigate your own people. And trust who? The mechanic who serviced the vehicle? My head of security? My mother's advisors. Min-jun's voice was flat. I run an organization built on loyalty codes and blood ties. Someone just proved those mean nothing. So forgive me if I'm not rushing to trust anyone. What do you want from me? The truth. When the board questions you, tell them exactly what happened. Don't embellish. Don't minimize. Just facts. And then I find who did this. And I make them regret it. The cold certainty in his voice made her stomach turn. You've killed people. Yes. I'll kill more before this is over. If that makes you uncomfortable, you should request a different room. You don't scare me. I should. Everyone else is smart enough to be afraid. He stood, picking up Dae-hyun. But maybe you're just too stubborn to know better. Maybe. His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. We'll see. The door opened. Ji-won stood there, expression grim. The board's early, and they brought Hwan Park. Min-jun's entire body went rigid. Why? Because someone told him about the blood debt. He's filing a motion to invalidate it. Says you're demonstrating compromised judgment and should be removed as boss. The boardroom was designed to intimidate. Circular. 12 chairs. 11 occupied by people who looked like they made decisions that ended lives. Nalani stood in the center under a spotlight. The man beside the empty 12th chair was different. Handsome, sharp suit, calculated smile. He radiated the kind of charm that came from years of manipulation. So Hwan Park said, "The Good Samaritan." "I helped at an accident," Nalani said. "That's all." "Is it? You were alone on that road." "At that exact time." "Extracted 2 children." "Stayed until his people arrived." Hwan began circling her. "Forgive me if I find that suspicious. I was driving home from work." "Can anyone verify that?" "The hospital where I work nights." "No alibi then." Counselor Park, Sunhee's voice cut in. "She saved my grandsons. Or she was paid to be there. To extract them. To earn trust." Hwan stopped in front of Nalani. "Tell me, Miss Washington. What do you know about Min-jun Kang?" "Nothing. I didn't know his name until last night. And yet you stopped for his vehicle specifically. Didn't call emergency services. Didn't drive away. You stopped. Why?" "Because there were babies screaming." Nalani's voice rose. "What was I supposed to do?" "Most people would drive past. Self-preservation is powerful." Hwan smiled. "Unless you knew those babies were valuable. Knew saving them would earn protection. Perhaps even a place you could never otherwise access. You think I sabotaged the car myself? I think you're a struggling civilian with nothing to lose. I think someone could have recruited you. Promised you money. Told you where to be. Then you're an idiot." The room went silent. "Excuse me. If I planned this, why would I still be here? Why not take payment and disappear?" Nalani stepped forward. "I'm here because he won't let me leave. Because apparently saving children creates some debt I don't understand. But if you think I'm smart enough to plan sabotage and stupid enough to stick around for questioning, you're not as intelligent as you pretend to be. You dare." "Enough." Min-jun entered, moving to his chair with controlled precision. The bandage on his arm was visible, a reminder that last night had cost him. "Counselor Park, you will not interrogate my guest like a criminal." She's a witness to an attack and a potential threat. Your feelings don't supersede board authority. Blood debt is older than this board. A life saved creates an obligation. That's foundational law. Foundational law applies to our world, not civilians who stumble into situations. The code says a life saved creates a debt. It doesn't specify who can save whom. It doesn't need to. It was written when civilians didn't know what we were. When we could hide. Pretend to be legitimate. Min-jun's tone went cold. But civilians see plenty, Park. They just don't usually survive to talk about it. The threat hung in the air. Is that your plan? Hwan asked. Silence her when she's no longer useful? My plan is to honor the code. She saved my sons. That makes her mine to protect. Listen to yourself. You sound obsessed. Compromised. Then call a vote. Challenge the debt. But understand, if you invalidate my blood debt, you invalidate every debt in our history. Every obligation becomes meaningless. Min-jun stood. The debt stands. She's under my protection. If you have a problem with that, you can challenge me. Right now. No one moved. Good. Now let's discuss who actually tried to kill my sons. They questioned Nalani for 6 hours. Same questions, different faces. By the end, her throat was raw. When it was over, Taeyong brought her water. They're like that with everyone, he said. Don't take it personally. Hard not to when they think I'm a conspirator. They think you matter. They don't waste 6 hours on people who aren't threats. That night, Min-jun summoned her to his private quarters. Not his office. His actual living space. Exposed brick, comfortable furniture, a fireplace that looked used. A table set for two. The board wants proof the debt is real, he said when she arrived. Shared meals are apparently how we demonstrate sincerity. What happens if we fail? They remove you. Possibly erase specific memories. We have chemists who can do that. Nalani's stomach dropped. Erase. Neural targeting. You'd wake up thinking you imagined the whole thing. He gestured to the table. Sit. Food's getting cold. She sat. And if we pass? You stay under protection until we identify the threat. Could take months. I'll lose everything. You were already losing everything. 3 months behind on rent. Employer documenting attendance issues. You were 1 shift from termination. His tone was factual, not cruel. We ran a complete background check. Hwan Park ordered it. He wanted dirt. Found nothing. So I'm clear. So he'll manufacture something. Min-jun sat across from her. Park wants me removed. You're his excuse. If he can prove I'm making irrational decisions over a civilian, the board can challenge my position. What do I do? Survive. Learn fast. Stay close until we eliminate the actual threat. A baby started crying from the next room. Min-jun stood immediately, returning moments later with Jae-hyun. Nightmares. Every night since the crash. He settled back in his chair, the baby against his chest. He knows something bad happened. You're good with them. I don't have a choice. Their mother died during childbirth. Hemorrhage. By the time we got her to the hospital, he stopped. Doesn't matter. I've been doing this alone for 6 months. And someone just tried to make them orphans. Silence stretched between them. Jae-hyun's breathing evened out. Why are you telling me this? Nalani asked. Because you're going to be here a while. You should understand what you saved. He looked at her. And why I can't afford to let anything happen to you now. Because of the debt. Because you're a loose end. If someone kills you, it sends a message that I can't protect what's mine. That I'm weak. His voice was clinical. I can't allow that. So I'm leverage. You're an obligation I'm choosing to honor. There's a difference. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. Work. Landlord. Nursing program. All irrelevant now. She deleted everything without reading. No one to call? Min-jun asked. No one who'd care. Good. Makes this simpler. The bluntness should have been offensive. Instead, it was almost refreshing. The next morning, Nalani woke to shouting. She opened her door to chaos. People running. Voices sharp. Taeyong appeared, panicked. Lock your door. Don't open it for anyone except the boss. What happened? Someone tried to breach the nursery last night. Didn't get in, but he swallowed. One of the guards is dead. And they left a message. What message? The civilian or the heirs? Choose. The world tilted. They're targeting you, Taeyong said. Park's making his move. Please. Lock the door. He ran. Nalani didn't lock the door. She dressed and headed toward the chaos. If someone had declared war using her as the excuse, she deserved to know. The nursery wing was surrounded by guards. Min-jun stood at the center, holding both twins, while Sun-hee and Ji-won argued. Unacceptable, Sun-hee was saying. This means a traitor inside. Or inadequate security, Ji-won countered. We've been focused on external threats. Enough. Min-jun's voice cut through. Find the entry point. Review rotations. Get Detective Cho's body to medical. I want to know how he died. Detective Cho. The dead guard. Nalani. Min-jun spotted her. You shouldn't be here. They want me gone. So I'll leave. Problem solved. No. Someone died because of me. Someone died because I have enemies who think threatening you will manipulate me. If I send you away, I prove them right. I prove I can be controlled. So I'm leverage in your power struggle. You're someone I owe protection to. There's a difference. His voice was hard. And I don't negotiate with people who murder my guards. This was the other Min-jun. The one who'd built an empire on calculated violence. The board needs to know, Sun-hee said. This is an act of war. It's not Park directly, Ji-won said. Too sloppy. Then who? Someone who wants us to think it's Park, Min-jun said slowly. Someone using the situation to create chaos. The saboteur, Nalani said quietly. Everyone looked at her. The sabotage was professional. But this is messy. Emotional. What if they're not the same person? Silence. Sun-hee's expression shifted. She has a point. Park's smart enough to know direct violence would unite us against him. Unless he's desperate, Ji-won said. His window is closing. Or someone wants us fighting each other, Min-jun said. Classic misdirection. Then both babies started screaming. Not fussing. Terrified. Min-jun tried to soothe them. They only cried harder. Something's wrong, he said, control cracking. This is fear. Nalani moved forward without thinking. Give him to me. Min-jun looked at her for a long second, then transferred Dae-hyun to her arms. The baby didn't stop immediately, but he quieted enough to catch his breath. His tiny fist gripped her shirt. She hummed. Something from childhood. Nothing special. Jae-hyun, still in Min-jun's arms, stopped screaming. Started listening. What are you doing? Ji-won asked. I don't know. Just being calm. They're responding to you, Sun-hee said quietly. Accepting your presence. Min-jun's face was unreadable. We're moving them to my quarters, he said. The nursery isn't secure. And she comes with us. Min-jun. Not negotiable. If she calms them when they're terrified, I want her close. Double the guards. No one gets near my quarters without my personal authorization. You're making her too important, Ji-won warned. She's already important. Someone just killed to prove it. Min-jun looked at Nalani holding his son. Might as well use it. They moved as a unit. Min-jun with Jae-hyun. Nalani with Dae-hyun. Guards surrounding them. And somewhere someone was watching. Planning. Waiting for the next move. Min-jun's private quarters had been transformed into a fortress. Guards at every entrance. Windows sealed. The nursery adjoining his bedroom was now a tactical position. Nalani helped settle the twins in their cribs. Dae-hyun had finally stopped crying. Jae-hyun was already asleep. You're good with them, Min-jun said, watching from the doorway. I'm a nurse. Was training to be one anyway. Before, she stopped. Before you failed out? The bluntness stung. Yes. Why? GPA. I worked nights to pay rent. Couldn't keep up with coursework and clinic hours. She straightened. Not everyone gets handed opportunities. No. Some of us take them. He moved into the room. The board's meeting tomorrow. Emergency session. They'll want answers about the breach. Will they blame me? Park will try. He'll argue that protecting you is draining resources. Making us vulnerable. Is he right? Min-jun was quiet for a moment. Strategically, Yes. Keeping you here is expensive. Every guard watching you is one not watching our territory. Every minute I spend managing this situation is time I'm not running my organization. Then why? Because the moment I sacrifice you to convenience, I prove I can be pressured. That my word means nothing. That blood debt is just theater. His voice went hard. I built my reputation on being worse than my enemies. I don't get that reputation by backing down. It should have been reassuring. Instead, it just confirmed what she already knew. She was a chess piece, not a person. There's someone I want you to meet, Min-jun said. She'll be here in 10 minutes. Who? Your new best friend. The woman who arrived was younger than Nalani expected. Late 20s, athletic build. Dark hair pulled back in a severe ponytail. She moved like a fighter. This is Hygiene, Min-jun said. Head of personal security. She's going to teach you how not to die. I don't need. Yes, you do. Hygiene's voice was clipped. Professional. You're a target now. Either you learn to defend yourself, or you become a liability that gets other people killed. Your choice. Nalani looked between them. What exactly am I learning? Basics. How to break a hold. How to run efficiently. How to recognize when someone's about to attack you. Hygiene crossed her arms. You won't be good. But you might survive 30 seconds. That's 30 seconds for help to arrive. When do we start? Now. The training room was in the basement. Mats on the floor, weights along the walls, heavy bags hanging from chains. Hygiene didn't waste time. Stance, she said, demonstrating. Weight on the balls of your feet. Knees soft. Hands up. Nalani copied her. Badly. Again. They ran through basics for an hour. How to stand. How to move. How to fall without breaking something. Nalani was terrible at all of it. You're thinking too much, Hygiene said after Nalani failed to execute a simple sidestep for the 10th time. Combat is muscle memory. React before you think. I can't just turn my brain off. Then you'll die thinking. Hygiene moved without warning, grabbing Nalani's wrist and twisting. Pain shot up Nalani's arm. Instinct kicked in. She yanked back, trying to pull free. Hygiene used the momentum to sweep Nalani's legs. She hit the mat hard, air knocked from her lungs. That's what happens when you think, Hygiene said, not unkindly. You telegraph. You hesitate. You give your attacker time to adjust. Nalani pushed herself up, hip aching from the fall. How am I supposed to not hesitate? Practice. Until it's automatic. Hygiene offered her hand. Again. They trained until Nalani's muscles screamed. Until sweat soaked through her borrowed clothes. Until she couldn't lift her arms. Better, Hygiene said finally. You're still terrible. But you're terrible with slightly better form. Thanks. I think. Don't thank me yet. We're doing this every morning until you can consistently escape a basic hold. That'll take weeks. I don't have weeks. Then you better learn fast. That night, Nalani could barely move. Every muscle hurt. Bruises were already forming on her arms and legs. She was in the bath, more of Hygiene's herbal, something that was supposed to help with soreness, when someone knocked. It's G1. I'm coming in. The door opened before Nalani could protest. G1 set a first aid kit on the counter and surveyed the damage. Hygiene doesn't mess around. I noticed. Good. You need to understand what you're in. G1 pulled up a stool. Let me see your shoulder. Nalani shifted, so G1 could see the bruise spreading across her left shoulder. Hygiene went too hard on day one, G1 muttered, opening the kit. I asked her not to hold back. Why? Because everyone here has had years to learn this life. I have days. Maybe weeks. Nalani met G1's eyes. I'm not going to be helpless. G1's expression shifted slightly. You remind me of someone. Who? Me. 10 years ago. Before I learned that stubbornness gets you killed just as fast as cowardice. She applied salve to the bruise. But at least you're trying. Most civilians curl up and wait to be saved. I'm not most civilians. No. You're the civilian who stopped at a crime scene and pulled out a crime boss's heirs. That makes you either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. I haven't decided which. Can't I be both? G1 almost smiled. Maybe. When she finished with the salve, she stood. The board meets tomorrow at noon. You'll be questioned again. Park's bringing witnesses. People will testify that you're a planted asset. That Min-jun's judgment is compromised. Am I? Planted, I mean. We've investigated you 6 ways from Sunday. If you were planted, we'd have found evidence. You're clean. Which somehow makes Park more suspicious, not less. What should I do? Tell the truth. Don't embellish. Don't volunteer information. Answer questions directly and then stop talking. Ji-won moved toward the door. And don't let Park get under your skin. That's what he wants, for you to lose your temper and prove you're unstable. Anything else? Yeah. Don't trust anyone. Not me, not hygiene, not even Min-jun. We all have agendas. Yours is survival. Don't forget that. She left. Nalani sank deeper into the water, trying to process everything. She was trapped in a criminal organization. A target for whoever had tried to kill Min-jun. A political pawn for Hwan Park. And apparently a training dummy for hygiene. Her phone buzzed. Still getting messages from her old life. Landlord. Hospital. Collection agencies. She deleted them all and turned off the phone. That life was gone. This was her reality now. The next morning, Taeyong brought breakfast and news. Board meeting's been moved up. 9 a.m. instead of noon. And there's someone here to see you. Who? Woman named Yuna. Says she's here to prepare you for testimony. Yuna turned out to be a lawyer. Mid-30s, expensive suit, briefcase that probably cost more than Nalani's car. I represent the Kang organization, she said, setting up at the small table in Nalani's suite. My job is to make sure you don't accidentally incriminate yourself or Min-jun during questioning. I'm not trying to incriminate anyone. Doesn't matter. Park's lawyers will twist everything you say. We need to prepare. She pulled out a legal pad. Let's start with the night of the accident. Walk me through every detail. They spent 2 hours going over Nalani's statement. Yuna asked the same questions 10 different ways, looking for inconsistencies. Good, she said finally. Your story's clean. No contradictions. That'll help. What happens if Park proves I'm lying? You mean if he manufactures evidence that you're lying? Because that's what he'll try. Yuna closed her briefcase. If he succeeds, Min-jun loses credibility. The board challenges his position. And you, she paused. You become a loose end that needs tying up. Meaning they kill me. Meaning they make you disappear. Could be death. Could be chemical memory erasure and relocation. Could be leverage against Min-jun if they think you're worth keeping alive. Yuna stood. My job is to make sure none of that happens. Your job is to not make my job harder. Understand? Yes. Good. Board meets in 90 minutes. Dress professionally. Don't wear makeup. You want to look like a civilian, not like you're trying to impress anyone. And for God's sake, don't cry. Crying makes you look weak. The boardroom looked different in daylight. Less theatrical. More businesslike. Nalani sat in the same chair as before, under the same spotlight. But this time, Min-jun sat in his seat. And Hwan Park had brought reinforcements. 3 people Nalani didn't recognize sat in visitor chairs. Witnesses, apparently. Let's begin, Park said. I've brought testimony from individuals who can speak to Miss Washington's character and activities prior to the night in question. The first witness was a man in his 40s. Balding. Nervous. State your name, Park said. Marcus Webb. I'm the night shift supervisor at County General. Miss Washington's employer. And can you describe Miss Washington's employment record? Spotty. She's been written up multiple times for tardiness. Missed shifts. We were in the process of building a termination file. Why hadn't you fired her? Hospital policy. We need documentation before we can terminate. So she was about to lose her job. Yes. Park turned to Nalani. Sounds like someone with financial motive to accept payment for services rendered. I wasn't paid. We'll get to that. Park gestured to the second witness. State your name. David Chin. I own the Canyon Road gas station. Mile marker 42. And you were working the night of the incident? Yes. Did you see Miss Washington that night? Yeah. She stopped for gas around 10:30. Paid cash. Did she seem nervous? Distracted. Now that you mention it, yeah. She kept checking her phone. Looking at the time, Nalani's stomach dropped. She had been checking her phone because she was running late and trying to calculate if she'd make it home before midnight. Sounds like someone waiting for a specific time window, Park said. Or someone who worked a 16-hour shift and wanted to get home, Nalani shot back. Miss Washington, you'll have your chance to speak. Park smiled. Third witness. State your name. Frank Morrison. Private investigator. And what did I hire you to investigate? Miss Washington's financial records for the 6 months prior to the incident. What did you find? 3 large cash deposits. $2,000 each. Deposited on the 15th of each month for the past 3 months. $6,000 total. The room went silent. Nalani's mind raced. She'd never deposited cash in her life. Her paychecks were direct deposit. She barely had $600 in her account, let alone $6,000. Those aren't mine, she said. They're in an account bearing your name and social security number, Morrison said. Opened 4 months ago at Pacific West Bank. I've never been to Pacific West Bank. We have your signature on the account opening documents. Park looked at the board. Miss Washington had financial problems. Lost her job. Then suddenly received $6,000 in untraceable cash. And just happened to be at the exact location where Min-jun's vehicle was sabotaged. The coincidences are remarkable. They're fabrications, Min-jun said, his voice cutting through the room. You opened that account. Forged her signature. Planted evidence to discredit her testimony. That's a serious accusation, Park said smoothly. Do you have proof? Do you? Besides manufactured bank records. I have 3 witnesses. You have a supervisor who admits the hospital hasn't fired her yet, a gas station owner who saw her doing exactly what she said she was doing, and a PI you paid to build a case. That's not evidence. That's theater. Park's smile widened. Then it should be easy to disprove. Miss Washington, simply provide your actual banking records. Show the board you don't have $6,000 in unexplained deposits. I don't have access to my accounts right now. How convenient. Because your people took my phone and wallet when they brought me here. Nalani's voice rose. I can't access anything. I'm being held in a compound with armed guards. How exactly am I supposed to prove anything? She has a point, son, he said quietly. Does she? Park turned to the board. Or is she a civilian who got in over her head and is now playing victim to earn sympathy? Enough. Min-jun stood. You want proof she's not planted? Fine. Release her. Let her leave. If she's working for someone, she'll report back. We'll track her, find her handlers, and you'll have your evidence. Absolutely not, Park said quickly. Too quickly. Why not? If she's guilty, releasing her exposes the conspiracy. If she's innocent, she walks away and this becomes irrelevant. Min-jun's voice was cold. Unless you don't want her released because you know she's clean and this whole production is designed to undermine me, not her. Park's smile faltered. Motion to release Miss Washington immediately, Min-jun said. All in favor? 3 hands went up. Then 4. Then 6. Motion carries, son, he said. Miss Washington, you're free to leave. Someone will return your belongings and arrange transportation. Nalani stood on shaking legs. She'd just been given exactly what she'd wanted since she arrived. Freedom. So why did it feel like a death sentence? They gave her back her phone and wallet. Clothes. Keys to a car. Not her Civic, something newer that she didn't recognize. Your vehicle was totaled in processing, G1 explained. This is your compensation. Titles in the glove box. I can just go? Yes. Debt settled. You're free. Nalani looked at the keys in her hand. Freedom. Escape. Everything she'd wanted. What about the people who left the message? The ones who killed Detective Cho. Not your problem anymore. They threatened me specifically. And now you're leaving. Removes you as a target. Ji-won's voice was flat. You want it out. You're out. Take the gift. Nalani walked to the car. Got in. Started the engine. Drove down the long driveway toward the gate. She should have felt relieved. Grateful. Instead, she felt sick. Because Juan Park had won. He'd manufactured evidence, forced the board to release her, and now Min-jun looked like he'd backed down. Like his protection meant nothing. The gate opened. Nalani drove through. Made it half a mile down the mountain road before she pulled over. Sat there with the engine running, hands shaking on the wheel. She could keep driving. Go back to her apartment, assuming it hadn't been emptied yet. Try to rebuild her life. Pretend this never happened. Or she could turn around. Walk back into that compound voluntarily. Prove to Park and to Min-jun that she wasn't running. Nalani looked at her phone. No signal. She was truly alone with this decision. She thought about Daehyun's tiny fist gripping her shirt. About Jaehyun's screams quieting when she hummed. About Min-jun saying blood debt like it actually meant something. This is insane, she told herself. Then she turned the car around. The guards at the gate looked confused when she pulled up. Miss Washington? You're supposed to be. I'm coming back. Open the gate. We need authorization. Then call Min-jun, tell him I'm here. Tell him I'm choosing to come back. 5 minutes later, the gate opened. She drove back up to the main house, parked, and got out. Min-jun was waiting on the steps. You came back, he said. No inflection. Just statement of fact. Yes. Why? Because Park thinks he won. Because he thinks threatening me will make you back down. Because someone tried to kill your children and I'm apparently the key to figuring out who. She met his eyes. And because I'm tired of running from everything. Min-jun studied her for a long moment. You understand what this means. You're volunteering to be bait. To put yourself in danger. Yes. And you're doing it anyway. Yes. Something shifted in his expression. Not warmth exactly, but recognition. Then let's use it. He turned and walked back into the house. Nalani followed. And somewhere, Won Park was getting very bad news. Hey bestie, thanks for making it this far. Comment below where you're watching from, and if you want a part 2. Also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't.